Hi, this is Mark Rosen from WCCO TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Ron Henderson, the Fitness King, presenting Motivation, one word to help change your life.
Motivation, I'm Ron Henderson, aka the Fitness King. I'm excited about today's show. With me is Sensei Robert Fusaro. Sensei Fusaro is one of the highest ranking non-Japanese black belts in the world at 9th Dan or 9th degree. Welcome to Motivation, Sensei. How are you?
Pretty good, I think.
This has been long awaited. I've wanted to have you on here for a while now.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you on here, and it's nice to see that you're dressed accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, most people know you from Midwest Karate, and you've been in karate for a long time. But before you became Midwest Karate, where did you grow up, and what was it like as a child growing up? Where did you grow up, and what was it like as a child?
Well, I basically grew up in southwest Minneapolis at Upton Avenue, and I had a normal child life.
Yeah.
Okay, like everyone else.
Yes.
So I wasn't interested in sports though, and I was kind of an introvert at that time.
Okay.
So again, it was just day to day.
Okay, so you never did any sports at all?
No.
In school? Nothing?
Nothing.
No soccer?
No.
Really?
That's right.
Okay. So you graduated from school.
That's right.
And you went into the military. Or did you go to college first?
Yeah, I actually took about a year off.
Okay, good.
And then I decided to go into the military.
Okay, why the military?
Adventure.
Okay.
And I went into the Army for 3 years.
Okay. So you went in the Army for 3 years, and doing a little research on you, somehow you had an opportunity to go to one of the dojos or something. So explain that.
Well, first I was shipped over to Japan,
Okay.
and I was lucky to have that happen to me. And I started working over there, and I decided I have to do something. I'm not going to wait 3 years.
In the Army, you were shipped over
I was
Japan.
yes. So I ended up I ended up in Korea. And anyway, I was at a base where they fix helicopters. So the captain called me in and he said, I got a job for you. He said, you're going to Japan.
Okay.
And I said, my eyes just lit up fine.
Were you excited about it?
Oh yes,
Okay.
Japan.
Okay.
And I didn't know about karate at that time. And so I got over there about 1955, the latter part of 55. And I met a gentleman real quickly. I met a gentleman there, a young guy that was in the military. And he was Army brand.
Okay.
Because his parents
grew up,
was working over there. So end result was that he introduced me to karate, and he brought me to the dojo.
Okay, and how old were you at that time? You're guessing.
I'm guessing right. I was born in 33.
Okay.
And I was in the 20s.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I walked into the dojo, and I was introduced to Mr. Ito, Mr. Takagi, who are the gentlemen that, I don't know, they were 7th, 8th degree black belts.
Okay.
And,
let me interrupt you just for a second. So he invites you to the dojo, but you're a guy that never cared for sports. Was there hesitation about going then? You were never interested?
Because he explained it a little bit to me. And showed what he was doing.
Right.
He was a purple belt at the time. So I said, yeah, I'll go. And when I went in there and I saw what they were doing, and wow, I decided this is great. I'm learning how to defend myself, and I'm not getting beat up.
Yep.
I'm not getting hit. I'm not getting thrown on the ground. So I decided to join up, and I enjoyed it ever since.
Was that expensive back then? Because I heard somewhere that you got sponsored. How did that work?
No, I decided. Well, that's a long story.
Okay.
I went
You
ahead.
can shorten it. You can shorten it.
I shortened it up. At that period of time, the officers were purchasing automobiles.
Okay.
like Buicks and all these sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they got discharged and they sold them,
Yeah.
and big profits.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided, well, if an officer can do it, I can do it. So I got my parents to put the money in, and I had a big black Buick over there, Roadmaster.
Okay.
But anyway, they changed the laws at that time. So military personnel couldn't get discharged
Yep.
while in Japan with an automobile, brand new automobile. So I ended up with an automobile.
Yep.
And anyway, I was discharged. They kept me in for about 2 months more, and then eventually they discharged me, and I ended up just getting rid of it for a price that we paid.
Yep.
So I didn't make any money.
Okay,
out
all
of
right.
it. So what the heck? So anyway, I stayed there a little bit longer, and then I was called back to the house, to the home.
But you were out of the military.
50.
I'm following
I
you.
was out
Okay.
while I was in Japan.
Okay, so how were you supporting yourself too at the same time?
I was selling, oh gee, what, Americana, Americana, what is it, encyclopedias.
Okay, well, it's not the Contra thing, okay.
Okay. But anyway, I was selling encyclopedias, and I would go to Korea
Right.
and sell them to the GIs on the 38th parallel.
Right.
And that was quite a story too. But anyway, that's why I survived.
Yeah.
I made $60 or $70 on each sale.
Yeah. And he was working, folks, so don't get a job.
That's right.
This is motivation. Get a job. You should be doing something that you love. And if you can't do something you love, do something until then.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So you go to the dojo. How long did it take you to actually say, this is what I want to do? You know, as far as training, what made you...
I was thinking in my mind, I never heard of anyone teaching in the Minnesota area.
Right, right.
So I was thinking, maybe I'll start teaching. I didn't know whether I was going to make a living out of it at that time.
Right.
But I was thinking of teaching. But I didn't get my black belt before I had to leave because my father was sick, and I left in 1958.
Okay. And why, let me interrupt you, why that style of karate? Because there's so many different styles out there.
I was lucky.
Okay.
He was training at the Nihon Karate Kyokai, Japan Karate Association, and I just happened to know Joe, and he dragged me to the dojo, and I didn't even realize what I was getting into as far as the fame of the organization.
Yes.
And I was able to see Sensei Funakoshi before he died. And he was the founder of Japan in 1928 when he was introduced to, he was introducing Okinawan Karate.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, a lot of service people.
Yes, and the physical education, it was a physical education expo, and he did a demonstration there, and they invited him to stay, and so he started teaching all over Japan at the universities, and that's the way karate started.
Yeah, you pull in. And what is it particular about? Because what, Shotokan style?
Shotokan.
What is it particular about that style that made you really embrace it? I mean, again, because I said there's a lot of things out there.
I did not know at the time.
Yeah.
What was the difference?
Right.
But
because I had never heard that until I actually met you guys at your school years ago. I always heard people Okinawas and those kind of things. You know, that style.
Yeah, it's anyway. They at that time they started competition. So I was there when they first began the development of competition rules and what have you. And then I just worked my way into it. And
just kind of
ended up getting a brown belt. And then I was sent off. I had to go back to the States. So I went back to the States as a brown belt. So before I left Sensei Nakayama, I talked with Sensei Nakayama, what am I going to do? I'd like to get my black belt and start teaching. He said, well, you just go back and you train what we have taught you and send us a film and see if we can we can get you going. So I believe I sent the film about 3 or 4 months later, 5 months later, and I got my black belt. They sent it, so I got it by mail.
But you got it. There you go.
That's terrible. But anyway, that's why I got it, and I started teaching in my parents' basement.
Right.
And 1958, the end of 1958.
Right.
And then I moved to a ballet school.
Okay, let me back up. So you started teaching in your parents' basement. And I talked a little bit before the show. How did you get your students at that time? How did that, just starting?
Just by word of mouth, putting little posters up, flyers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I slowly, gradually had about 20 students in about 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Or more.
Right, and folks at home, I told Sensei Fusaro that my mother actually trained with him in the beginning in 1968. So she's had to be one of your, earlier students, obviously.
Oh yeah, sure.
Rachel Henderson, which I thought was pretty cool. So you're a big influence, because my mother would practice karate, she'd practice fencing, she was in all kinds of things like that, which is kind of amazing.
That's great to have a mother.
Oh yeah.
Doing those kinds of
Parents
activities.
Like it. Yeah. So then
Motivates
you moved. It does, totally. The whole background of that. So then you moved to the ballet studio. What was it?
Yeah, it was Ruth Wagner Ballet School on Xerxes, on 43rd and Xerxes.
Okay.
And I stayed there about a year, and then I ended up ending in downtown Minneapolis.
Okay. And how did Midwest Karate come to be? Because initially, wasn't it called something else?
Twin Cities School of Karate.
Okay. What changed?
Oh, I decided, I don't know, I didn't like the Twin Cities name, so I decided to change to Midwest Karate Association.
Okay.
So I incorporated more of the states in that area.
Right. And what is it, Sensei, what is it from a discipline standpoint, what is it that you love the most about your style of karate?
It's constantly changing. It's growing. But it's growing because Sensei Nishiyama came into town in 1961, and I latched right on to him.
Yeah.
And he is a great teacher. He taught us to always experiment with your body.
Right.
And that's what I like about the martial arts. Whatever you're in your activities, you're constantly training, and all of a sudden you're learning all these different muscle groups in your body, and you're learning how to control them, and what moves the arm, what moves the legs, how is it hooked down to the hip area, how the shoulders solids, so if you hit something you don't tear muscle groups.
Right.
So you're constantly growing and improving yourself. And that's also very important for self-esteem.
Oh yeah. So how do you, let me ask you this question, how do you guys handle students that come in that kind of want to just come in to learn karate so that they can kick butt, so to speak? How do you guys, a weeding process?
I went through that. Which way am I going to go?
Right.
Am I going to try and make money, get people to sign up, or what have you? So I decided, well, I'm just going to teach basic karate, and the people are coming in for the wrong reason, they can leave.
Right.
So it was not a good business concept, but I decided to try and keep what I've learned and what I'm still learning pure.
Sure. And I like what you just said there, Sensei, because you said that you're still learning.
Oh yeah.
Which is important.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
This is always going on. You're figuring out how to create shock, how to create movements that all of a sudden you see an opening and boom, the nerves react immediately. And all of a sudden maybe your hand's here, your hand's back here, wherever you are, boom, it's right there. It's right on the target.
Don't hit me, Sensei.
No. But, I'm pretty sure you know how to defend yourself.
I know you're not going to hit me, but you got to, motivation, I like people just, it's nice. This show is really nice because I love the fact that I can bring people on it like you. You're a master at what you do, okay? You've been doing this for years. You've had a ton of schools, and one thing that I even remember about you is you were always very, how can I say it? You promoted, what I can say, peace avoidance. You know, avoid.
With people with the wrong attitude, they come in.
Oh, yeah.
I try and motivate them to go someplace else.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't wish to have that type of concept in someone's mind. They're here to beat up on people.
Yeah, you gave me good advice. I won't talk about it, but you gave me good advice years ago. I had one person in my life that I was actually intimidated by, and after talking to you, I wasn't. This guy was 6'5", and I went into a place and I said, I need to talk to him. I shut the door. Let's talk alone. I wanted to talk to him, and he said, well, don't think that your arts can be effective with me. I'll shoot you. And he walked out. And I laughed because it was great, because he would never mess with me again.
That's right.
He was trying to intimidate me, and when he saw that I had no fear, it was amazing, and then we ended up becoming friends later. See, but it was all because of the advice that you gave me, because I had never had anybody where I was sitting down, 6'5", standing over me. It kind of shocked me, and all of a sudden I stopped thinking about the things that I was taught, instead of going back to the reality. So martial arts is huge for building up your confidence, but confidence to avoid things too as well.
All the time.
See?
All the time. Never accelerate something.
Oh yeah. You guys have a good reputation, and we've talked about this. I know many people that have been through your school. I went through school years ago, but I know many people that have been at your school. And I've always loved your principles and how you teach. It wasn't about anger and all these kinds of things.
No. You can't have anger.
Right.
That's something that's clouding your mind.
Right.
Fear, that clouds your mind.
Right.
In other words, you have to be sharp internally,
Yes.
mentally, and you can't have fear,
Yes.
anger,
Yes.
all these
Right.
emotions of the body.
Oh yes.
Something happens, you have to just be calm
Exactly.
and keep your eyes open and make sure you're making sure you're trying to avoid the situation.
Right.
Naturally, if something happens to your family and you have to defend your family, you have to say, okay, that's enough.
Right.
You know, or they come at you, then you have to do something, and hopefully you can do something where you don't damage the person.
Exactly. Yes. Sensei, what would you say your strengths are when it comes to,
Well, one strength is being confident in yourself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's a very important strength. Mm-hmm. If you're not confident in yourself and you fear things,
Right.
this is a negative action. You have to be positive, and as you know, there's a lot of garbage that hits you.
Oh yeah.
Things happen, you
yeah.
plan something, it doesn't happen,
Oh, yeah.
this, that, what have you.
Yes.
And you have to be able to overcome that
Yes.
and create a new path.
Yes. Mm-hmm. How about what would be a weakness of yours?
A weakness?
Yes.
I suppose I have many weaknesses.
Okay, and one of mine is impatience.
Well, basically spending more time with my family,
Right.
because I was just wrapped up in karate,
Right.
and it took a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Well, but you have your sons are at your dojo too, so that's very helpful. And your wife's involved too, Gloria. Doris, right? Doris?
No, Gloria.
Gloria, I'm sorry, I said right initially. Okay. Yeah.
So, my two sons are in it now, and Michael, he's now a 6th degree black belt,
Right.
and Daryl's a 3rd degree black belt.
And you still teach as well.
Oh yeah, I try.
You try. Mm-hmm.
Because right now at 84 years old, I
Right.
still have the normal things that happen to
yes.
all 84-year-olds.
Oh yes.
But I always try and overcome.
Right.
I keep going, keep going.
Right. Has your passion or love for karate changed at all, or is it deepened?
When I had AFib, and my energy just went down. I couldn't believe it. And I had 2 procedures.
Yep.
I had 2 procedures that actually, one didn't work, and then they did it again about 2 years later, and it worked.
Good.
So my heart's working normal, and I got my energy
There
back.
you go.
Now I'm building
There you go.
myself back up again.
There you go. It's a good one. Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, it's a lot of things happen to your life. And, you plan for something, but the life determines what you're going to do.
Right.
Not you.
Right, I agree. What would you say to somebody at home that's ever thought about maybe being involved in the martial arts? What would you say to them?
Oh, it's a wonderful thing to get involved with, but you have to be careful. there's a lot of, I don't want to call charlatans, but a lot of people with different ideas how they're teaching and what have you. And structurally, there's a lot of different styles that have different concepts of how the body should be and how to develop the body. And a lot of the instructors don't understand what actually moves the body.
Yes, yes.
How to move the muscles and how to shock them.
Yeah.
How to create action where you can be at a certain position, then bam, then you
Right.
can really deliver the energy.
Right.
Short distance. So actually, fighting usually occurs close together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When we fight, we try and keep the distance, and boom, we're kicking, punching, everything,
Yes.
but we're right close to the skin.
Yep.
And we have accuracy that you can fight and no one gets hit, and everyone
Right.
feels great. We leave and we're all happy.
Good comradeship. And
That's
where,
right.
where are you guys located now? Where are you guys at?
I'm at 913 Plymouth Avenue North.
Okay. But you're on the web too.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
Midwest? Is it midwestkarate.org?
That's it,
Okay.
MidwestKarate.org.
www.midwestkarate.org. You don't have to roll your R either, but it's Midwest Karate. All right. So, from a student standpoint, will you guys train anyone, or is it,
We have children
Okay.
from
Okay.
6 years old on.
Wow.
up. We have a great young lady that's been with me for I don't know how many years, 15 years, something
Okay.
like that. And she's been started teaching about 11, 12 years ago, and she's doing a fantastic job now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of young children. They're slowly growing up, and they're coming into the adult classes.
Good.
And we have adults attending,
Mm-hmm.
people in their 30s, 40s, and I've got people attending in their 50s, 60s, 70s,
Okay.
and then myself in the 80s.
Yep.
So I got a lot of people coming back. I got old people calling me up
Yep.
that were with me
Oh, years ago. back
30,
then. Oh,
40
yeah.
years ago,
Yes.
and they come back, some of them, and they
Mhm.
just kick themselves because they didn't continue their training.
They wish they,
Yep. Because
Wow.
they're seeing people that they knew at that time,
Right.
they're third, fourth, fifth degree black
Sure.
belts,
Right.
and they're still training.
Right.
They're still training.
So most people that come to your school, do they come with the intention of getting a belt, or do some just come because it's a great workout as well?
There's people
Different
training
reasons.
for many different
Right.
reasons.
Right.
And the thing is, you have to try and play with them and mold them into where you want them to be,
Right.
and make it interesting to them. Teach them about their body, how they work, how they shift, how they move, how instead of moving this way, you kind of move with your legs to get into the target.
Oh yeah.
And keep your body, and how to make, what do you call it, total commitment
Yeah.
of a movement, and how to maintain muscle tone so it doesn't inhibit your joints, but it makes your body solid.
Right.
You know.
Well, I understand what you're talking
You
about.
can move
Of
your
course.
arms,
Of
and
course.
yet your body is just solid.
Of
And,
course.
And you know how to.
Know how to relax if you have to.
Yes, yet
Yeah.
keeps
Yeah.
keep the core.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Keep the core.
Yes, Sensei. Yeah, I had a guy, I wish it would have been videotaped, but I was talking, Jackie Chan, he's an actor, right? Used to do his own stunts. And I said, how do you think he does some of those things that he does? I was saying this to a friend of mine. Oldest Courtney, he's 70. I said, right here. So I ran and I actually crawled up, crawled up the wall and came across the ceiling. Because I was into this zone, and then he said, King, do you realize how far up you are? And I looked down, broke my concentration, and I dropped down to the ground.
There you
Couldn't
go.
continue, and I was coming, that you see my entryway in here, right? And I was going, I've never done that before in my life like that. Ran up the wall and then turned around and came back. I wish it would have been videotaped.
Yeah, I've seen that.
See?
The run.
Yeah,
and
but I've never
the
done it
energy,
before.
The energy.
Right.
The energy and the weight mass
Exactly.
prevented you from dropping
Right.
until you flip
Right,
yourself.
Exactly. So let me ask you this question, Sensei. As a non-Japanese person, you're one of the highest ranking people, okay? You're in there, okay? Has there ever been a point in your life where you kind of got the big head from it? As you were growing.
Usually everyone has that.
Right, yeah.
When
I went
they're
through it.
young.
Yes, yes.
Okay? And you think you're good and all
Right,
this other
right.
stuff. And in reality, this being good from here to here, you're maybe down
Right, right.
here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you keep progressing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you get a big head, that will either destroy you and let you change.
Yeah.
It won't do you that much good.
Right.
You have to be humble.
Yep.
You got to have a accepting viewpoint in life.
Yes.
You have to accept things,
Yeah.
and you know that very well.
Oh, I do, but I think your story to me is so fascinating because you've been doing this for a long time. When I say 38 years for me as a trainer, some people think that it's a long time. But you've been doing this for how many years now?
60.
Yeah, that's a long time to be doing what you're doing, and people respect you. I remembered you, You're a man of wisdom. Last question I want to ask you, how do you continue to learn even yourself right now? How do you learn?
How do you learn?
But I want the audience to hear how you...
I know. That's what I love about different not only martial arts, but activities.
Right. Oh, yes.
That deal with the body, is that you are your own learner, and you start feeling all these different feelings that the senseis were telling you many years ago.
Yes.
And people that you met in your field,
Oh, yeah.
and they were telling you, this happens, this happens, this happens,
yeah.
and you're trying to analyze it, and then pretty soon you become your own critic,
Yep.
and you start changing yourself. But only until you hit a certain point,
Right.
and that's what I love about this, because it's your own body. You can do it yourself, and you can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And then pretty soon, with like my people that are helping me teach and everything, I let them go, and they have different ways of expressing this feeling. And I'm sitting there, hey, that's a good idea.
That's different. Oh yeah. But it takes years. The new nunchucks. I practiced that actually for 10 years, almost an hour and a half every day. And I had read something that Bruce Lee, blah blah blah, whatever he did on film or whatever. And then I remember I was at First Avenue actually, and I was doing a demonstration, and people were standing, people were seated, and everybody just totally stopped and it wasn't until later that night that I realized it had been a total of 10 years that I had been practicing those. Yeah, to the point I can blindfold myself and I don't worry about hitting myself.
That's right.
But it takes effort, it takes the discipline, and it takes people who are willing to work with you and aren't going to belittle you because you're not where they're at. And so if you're thinking about looking for a great place to train, I give them a recommendation, obviously, Midwest Karate, Minneapolis. My mother, like I said, used to train with these guys. I've known Sensei Fusaro for a long time, even though he didn't remember me exactly immediately, but he did after a while.
Yeah, I did. I was watching.
I have a lot of respect for you, and it was a pleasure actually having you come on Motivation.
Well, thank you very much.
And I'm going to make sure that people have your contact information. Do you have any? And on that note, I'm going to sign off, and hopefully he won't kick my butt, Sensei Robert Fusaro. Pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming on.
Very much.
Great show.
Ron.
And folks, in all that you do, stay fit, stay blessed, and stay motivated. We'll see you next time on Motivation.